We're being joined by three very wise gentlemen to discuss where the centre, right and right in Australia should be heading from here. If we put aside the woes of the Liberal Party for the moment and just take a look at the primary vote overall, we can get a sense of how bad or not things really are for the right side of politics. This is a snap from the ABC website on the tally for the primary votes for the major parties. We've got Labor on just under 35% and the Coalition on just over 32%. That means 1/3 of Australians are rejecting the red and blue this time. The Greens sit on just under 12, which continues to totally astound me. That means 1 in 8 Australians would vote one for a radical far left party, and in some suburbs of Brisbane, it's like 1 in 3 people walk in and put a 1 next to the Greens, which is mind-boggling. And let's give the left about 2/3 of that other vote there, because most of those are for Teals, and we can't possibly claim them to be on the non-left side of politics anymore. And we have then a total of the left with around 55% and the right with a total around 45%. Adding the Coalition, One Nation, Trumpet, and about a third of the others. So, of course, all of this doesn't translate into a proportional distribution of seats in the House of Representatives. When we take a look at how the 151 seats in the House will be distributed based on who won what where, it's been far worse for the Coalition, to say the least. The Liberals and Nationals finishing up so far with only 40 seats in the count, Labor on 89, Independents on 10, and that's with 11 seats remaining in doubt. Some are calling a couple of other seats. So, you know, we've got the Greens on one, possibly with the seat of Ryan in Brisbane staying green. So maybe 95 seats probably for Labor at the end of the day. Of course, the Senate is where the Greens have all their power, and they'll continue to hold the balance of power in the Senate with 11 senators. One big problem now for the Liberal Party is the choosing of a new leader out of a very depleted bunch of talent. Putting the fights between Conservatives and Progressives within the party aside for a moment, just finding one outstanding candidate to lead the party for the next few years has been a challenge. This is not a problem isolated to the right side of politics, I'd say. The talent on the Labor side isn't what it used to be either. The days of the Hawkes and the Keatings and the Howards and the Frasers are well behind us. Joining me in the studio today, we have Graeme Haycroft, founder of the alternative non-left-wing professional associations known as the Red Unions, the founder of NatCon, the National Conservative Institute of Australia, and lawyer Dan Ryan, and Professor James Allan from the University of Queensland Law School. Graeme, I'm going to start with you on this question of talent not being attracted to politics in our country. What are your thoughts on that, and how do we fix it?
Okay, well, the Conservative politicians, in fact, all politicians, they weren't doing that. They'd probably be selling real estate, right? They have got their C-grade people, C-class people, and they always have been, and I'd like to suggest they always will be. But they're an important part of our system. It sort of works, provided there's a core of A-graders. You know, we need A-grade people. And Howard was an A-grader. Menzies obviously was. In the present parliament, you've probably got Canavan, Antic, Price, Hasty. I've run out of names, right? And none of them are actually on the...
Did you say him?
Antic, yeah. There's just not enough. And the problem is you're not going to attract people in because they only pay peanuts. At the state level, they're getting 200 grand. You're not going to get an A-grader for 200 grand.
They get pretty good pensions, though.
Well, they don't. They're not anymore. They don't. They used to.
Yeah.
So how do you get the A-graders in there? And fortunately, there's a precedent in Canada, and this is how I sort of got onto this after Jim wrote an article about the Canadian Conservative Party. What they do there, they change the whole. If you like, you show me the incentives, and I'll show you the results. Now, the incentives in the Canadian system, what happens in Canada is quite simply every member. They pay about $20 Australian to join per year, so it's only sort of a normal amount. But they get to decide who the leader will be. And most importantly, they get to decide whether the leader stays or not.
So the membership directly elects the leader of the party. The membership of the party is 700,000 members. So you're getting already an indication of what the public actually think, the public actually care about.
Exactly. And not only that, you put an A-grader in there now, and we've had a few. I mean, I'm not suggesting in any way, shape or form that Dutton was ever an A-grader. But he was like 19 years before he had a crack. And unfortunately, he turned out to be a dud. So you're not going to get the A graders on the basis that I'll go into and I'll put up with the crap of all these bloody C graders and then I'll finally get a run because they've exhausted everyone else. It's 20 years later. They're not going to give up 20 years of their life. But if they can get in there because they've been successful somewhere else, and ordinary people can identify leaders in the country. Like, you're in a football team, everyone knows who the captain's going to be, right? We know, we can see them everywhere. So that's the system we need to bring in, and then you totally change the entire dynamic. Instead of having a leader elected by a committee of his peers who all want his job, you've got someone else who comes in essentially with an outside support base, and he can get rid of all the duds out of his cabinet, right? Send them to the backbench, and he can get the people who are going to work and can get on with the job, and he can make strong decisions because he knows that his chicken-livered little colleagues will have no say on his future or her future.
Why didn't this work in Canada, Jim? Just quickly.
Well, it has because Poilievre is not being removed. He's found a new seat, and so he's continuing.
But he didn't win.
No, he didn't win, but he also took the Conservative vote to a 40-year high. So the big difference between Canada and Australia is Poilievre, although he was weak compared to Trump, because he sort of chickened out in the last 2 weeks, but his basic approach was so much better than done. So he took the actual Conservative vote in Canada to a 40-year high. You have to go back to 1988. And so the party membership is not going to replace him. They have actually found a safe seat for him. The guy has said he'll step down, Poilievre in Alberta. And just picking up on another thing Graeme said, look at the state level. Amanda Stoker is A grade, and she isn't even in cabinet. Crisafulli, it's not just that they have to wait their turn. The C graders don't want the A graders because they're afraid of the A. There's no world in which Amanda Stoker should not be in Crisafulli's inner cabinet.
No, there isn't. And we've that's Amanda Stoker, former federal senator and junior minister, who is now in the Queensland Parliament, state parliament, has not been given a ministerial position in David Crisafulli's government.
Everything Graeme says, right.
All of this organisation, you and I, Dan, have worked in the corporate world a lot. You see this in the corporate world all the time. We've got to have a system where you've got outsiders and you've got that influence coming in from the outside, and people are promoted on talent. We're not getting that inside you've worked inside the party as well, inside the Liberal Party.
Yeah, I mean, there's structural issues, right? There is an incentive for those who have not done anything professionally to exclude those coming in who have done things and more competent people. There's also another issue where if anyone has spoken out on any issue, written an op-ed, then that's actually to their detriment within the party because people don't want anyone who's actually made a stand on something. So we had a situation, as you might recall, the last election, where a guy who had a view that women shouldn't be in frontline positions and was disendorsed on that basis. Now that's a reasonable position. You can disagree with it or agree with it. But
frontline military fighting frontline.
That's right.
Position. That's all combat roles. That's what he said. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
That's all he said. It wasn't.
And so why you would disendorse a person on that basis, whereas in the seat of Brisbane, you had the candidate there who was saying that, puberty blockers will be coming back in after 6 months. He wasn't disendorsed.
And I don't left-wing position.
And to be clear, I don't think either of them should have been disendorsed. If you believe that, believe it. But that is part of the reason why people who make a stand on things aren't welcomed into the party, aren't promoted, and that needs to change. We need, there's a lot of talk about this broad church sort of stuff. It needs to be open to a wide range of people with different views. And at the moment, there's a lot of talk about the broad church, but it really, the party seems to think that its ideal candidate is a, diversity and inclusion hire who works for PwC and zero tolerance. That's kind of the attitude. Yeah. And if they can just get an army of those, somehow they'll win. The results across the Western world show that that is not the path
it's
to
bland,
success.
It's vanilla, it's not going to work, and it just makes politics an extension of the bureaucracy, which is the problem we've got now, and it just keeps growing.
I disagree with you, and I think talking about a broad church is just slogans. I mean, the party is already to the left of center. It's Labour light. We don't want a broad church right now. We want some actual the only way they're going to win is with a conservative leader. If they put Susan Lee in, the party is going to implode. I know when you say, well, do you have
I think it's already imploded.
It's imploded, right? But I mean, any chance they have to recover is not going down that path. So we need a little. Graham's reform is great. I'm just a little bit worried that it's not going to be so easy to pull it off, because these people have a vested interest in not letting members have a say on anything.
Oh,
Yep.
nothing worthwhile is
No.
easy,
Right.
but it's relatively simple. Can I make one further comment
Very
about
quickly.
the Alberta
We've got to
thing?
take a break and then we'll come back.
Very
to,
important. Poilievre lost his seat in Canada.
Yep.
Right? The premier of Alberta, I'm not sure what the terms are. She was actually elected as the leader when she wasn't even in the parliament in Alberta.
That's right.
Yeah.
So she was one of the ones who were voted in by the members. They saw her. You're good. In you
Yep.
go.
Find the talent. Get
Boom,
it.
boom, boom.
Yep.
She was the one who found the seat for Poilievre. She would have been tap, tap, tap. I think it's time for you to go and have another job in Paris for us, and your seat's going to become available. Bang, bang.
Yeah.
Because you've got
Graham,
strong
when she
people.
came in, the
Yeah.
party was behind in the polls, and when they brought her in, they won a big majority.
She's a strong leader.
Yeah.
She's an A-grader,
Yeah.
and that's where we've got to get into our parliament.
I want to tell you about a fantastic initiative that's happening out of Canberra right now. It's called the Awards for Men in Leadership. The awards are given out on International Men's Day, which is November 19. They're designed to combat the increasing denigration of masculinity in our culture and the widespread discrimination against males inside and outside the workplace. The goal is to lift the well-being of boys and men and facilitate healthy collaboration between men and women. The awards for men in leadership are designed to inspire men to make a bigger contribution to family and community and to elevate positive male role models. There's a $10,000 scholarship for studies and professional development, public recognition for the winners, and a year of mentorship and executive coaching for each recipient. It's targeted at young men and middle-aged guys who fought their way up from some other kind of disadvantage. This is the third year of the awards and it'll be the biggest yet. To find out more, just search up the Awards for Men in Leadership on Facebook. That was a segment from a recent episode of our fortnightly news commentary show, The Other Side, with me, Damian Curry. If you liked it, support us. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube right now so you don't miss a thing. It's totally free. Just click that subscribe button and the little bell. And check out our Other Side Unplugged show too, and join our mission to actually do something and change Aussie media for the better at othersidetv.com.au. That's othersidetv.com.au. Check it out now.